Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast, part of the Bet Rivers Network, as we come to you on what is the last Football Friday of the year, as we get ready to see who is going to win a Super Bowl that has not, in my estimation, in any way garnered the attention or impressed the nation. I looked at the ticket prices. They're going down a little bit, but most years they do. It's the odd game in a certain city where it goes up, or if you have certain teams, it goes up. The team that has been the most dramatic uh, through the years, the Giants. I mean, the Giants really escalate tickets prices because New Yorkers and Wall Street and Madison Avenue are never afraid to pay big money for tickets when they've been there. Now they haven't been there in a long time, but that's really the case. Also, going to San Francisco is a long trip and it's an expensive one. So going to the Super Bowl now isn't for the average family. It's now become a very expensive proposition all the way around. Um, these teams earned it. I know people are disparaging the Pats based on their schedule. They can only play who they played, and they were able to win the games, even though they have been anything but impressive offensively in the postseason. Yes, Seattle played a much tougher schedule. There's no question about that. And Seattle has been a team that I think has not gotten the credit it deserves this year. I thought the Rams would get to the Super Bowl. I thought the Rams would win last week. Um, this team beat the Rams twice, and not only that, winning these two big, dramatic, exciting games against the Rams, and realize that Seattle played the Rams and the Niners 6 times. Winning those 2 games, I think, has changed, has improved, and has given Sam Darnold a jolt of confidence. Sam was still, even into this year, in the Ram games as an example, he was a quarterback that made a lot of mistakes. He has not done that in the postseason. He has not done that uh, in the first Ram win. He came back and had a great fourth quarter after making mistakes. In the postseason, he hasn't made mistakes, and he was superb in the win. I mean, he put up brilliant numbers. He had 7 different receivers. Uh, he made big plays. He made big throws, and he has looked very much like a winning quarterback in the last couple of games. 3 times Seattle lost this year. They lost by 4 to the Niners in week 1. They lost by 3 to the Bucks in a high-scoring game when the Bucks were still a semblance of a team, and that was week 5, and they lost by 2 to the Rams in week 11. They played the Rams 3 times, the team that I think was the best team in the sport this year. They played the Niners 3 times, although the Niners in the last 2 occurrences, one they didn't try, the other one they were banged up appreciably. They also beat the Jags, they beat the Texans. The Pats beat the Bills. They beat the Ravens after Lamar left the game early. They surprised everybody. Yes, they had a very soft schedule. In the playoffs, they played weak quarterbacks, but they played against really good defenses. They played against the Chargers defense. They played against the Texans defense, which was the best in the sport. And they played against the Denver defense in their building, very hard place to play on a day when the weather was a huge factor in the second half. And let's be honest, New England didn't have a touchdown drive in the game. They're here without a touchdown drive in the championship game. They lost this year to the Raiders early, the Bills, and the Steelers. The question is, where is the New England offense, especially the passing game, in the postseason? Can they turn that around against Seattle? You know, the Pats made big plays. May made him with his legs. He's made him with his legs in the postseason. That's how he beat Denver. That and the turnover. But the Pats made a lot of big plays downfield during the season. They made a lot of plays. They broke tackles. They made big plays. Seattle was very good at stopping big plays all year, although they do have a habit of missing tackles in the passing game. Now, you know these teams are going to take away the big play. That's how everybody plays now. That's become part of the league. You try to there's more running, believe it or not, than there was years ago because of the fact that now everybody plays their safeties in such a way to take away the big play and say, "Beat us underneath, move the chains, be clean, run the football, and we'll take away the big play." And it's the big play, the missed tackle, the missed assignment, or the big turnover, the sack and strip, the fumble on your end of the field, the play on special teams that decides these games. That's pretty much the way the league is now. You decide these games with big plays, and you decide these games with turnovers and mistakes. New England is a 4.5-point underdog. That's deserving. Seattle's defense is very, very good. Their offense can be multiple, and Sam seems to be getting better. And they have, in my mind, the number 2 receiver in the sport, and he's coming off a brilliant season. I think Nakua is the best wide receiver in the sport. I think he might be the best wide receiver I've ever seen. And he had an incredible year. But so did JSN have an incredible year and ultra consistent. And he's there. And, I've heard people criticize Sam that he throws to him too much. Hey, he went to 7 different receivers. He got the ball to his big receiver time and time again. He's hard to cover. They use him in a variety of ways. They get him the easy throws. They get him in every possible position. And he's very tough to cover. He's got great hands. He's a brilliant player. Brilliant player. But Sam went to 7 different receivers in the Ram game, and that was telling. I thought very telling. We'll get into the game in depth in a second, but first let me give you a little bookkeeping. Now, first, Francesa 128. Here we go. This is the big game bonus that you want to be part of. Get a $10 bonus bet from Bet Rivers to use on the big game. Enter the bonus code Francesa128. That's my last name, Francesa 128 in the Bet Rivers app to claim your bonus bet. The code is Francesa128. Offer expires after the big game on February 8th. Must be 21. Eligible players only. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Now, we tell you to sign up for the Francesa newsletter. Your chance to enter the February newsletter contest and win a personalized message from me or a Francesa prize pack. If you haven't signed up yet, just go to the MikeFrancesAPodcast.com, MikeFrancesAPodcast.com, and get in on the action. And they will send you the newsletter weekly. Now, these are not household teams. The Pats are the Pats, the franchise, Kraft, anything relating to Belichick and Brady. Everyone knows the history of the Pats. Okay, so you see the uniform, you know the heritage, you know the success they've had. But this team, under Vrabel now, is not a bunch of household names, although the young quarterback has emerged and will be the runner-up in the MVP voting to Stafford. He had a terrific season. He has struggled with the pass in the postseason against good defenses. He also has been sacked 15 times. 5 times in each game in the postseason. 15 sacks, and he's fumbled the ball 6 times. He also has made sensational runs, and he made one to get a first down to end the game against Denver. He made big runs in all these playoff games. His scrambling is a big, big factor, but the passing attack has not been there. They have not made big plays. He has not thrown the ball with authority. We know that he's got some issue with his shoulder, but that's not the issue here. The issue here is he's been under pressure. Now, the offensive line was rebuilt significantly this year. There's no question, and it did a very good job. But it's vulnerable, especially against the Seattle team that can get there with 4 guys, has the ability, and this is one thing you're going to watch. The Pats are going to be very conscious about tempo and substitutions when they have the ball, because they do not want Seattle to be able to rotate their enormous number of defensive linemen, who they all keep fresh and they all come in, breathing fire. If you can keep them off the field, it's an added, especially in the fourth quarter when pass rushes might be tiring. It's a big key because they want to run guys in, and they have a lot of guys who can do the job. They get to the quarterback a significant number, but they were second in the league in hurries. They also do it without blitzing, which allows them to maintain integrity in the back 2 units. They're not great in those units, but they have standout players in those units. Now, their defense played really well. If you take out the Ram games, and remember, they shut down the Niners a couple of times. Yes, the Niners were banged up, but they did shut them down, especially in the playoff game. Their ability to keep people out of the end zone was impressive. Their ability to stop the big play was impressive. They are a very underrated defense. And whether or not May can stay upright, stay away from the big mistakes, stay away from the fumble, stay away from the strip, stay away from the interception, because of the fact that he's under pressure. Now, part of this is the offensive line. In the playoffs, Campbell, as an example, has had 11 hurries against them and 3 sacks against them in the playoff games. He will be spotlighted in this game. There's no question. May, though, is part of the issue, despite his superb scrambling ability. And he wants to stand in there, move around, and make plays downfield. But he does hold the ball a very long time. 22% of the sacks this year were considered to be his fault, not the offensive lines. And he has not looked steady on plays where they're trying to run quick offense. Now, they have not big name receivers, but they have dangerous receivers. We know Diggs can break out. That's why he's there. We know they have guys who can make plays down the field. We know they like to throw to the tight end. They know they can throw the ball to the back, who can break tackles. We know all that. But let's be honest, they have struggled to score points in the postseason, and their passing attack has been virtually non-existent. In the Denver game, there was no passing attack. They made one play on a flea flicker. That was it. Seattle has thrown the ball impressively. And I think that Sam has taken a big step forward. I think the Ram game in the regular season and that sensational fourth quarter gave him a confidence, gave him a foundation that he did not have before that. He was playing well. He played well at times last year against Minnesota. He had a couple times where he didn't play great. We know he's been prone to the mistake, but he has looked better and more confident in these playoff games, especially in the Ram game where he had to be that good. The Rams threw that game off with the turnover. when they muffed the punt. It put them back 2 scores, and it really turned out to be a difference in the game. Plus, I thought McVay made some very bad decisions. He should have taken the field goal. He also made some very bad calls down near the goal line. But the fact that that game could have gone either way is not in any way an indictment on Seattle because the Rams were that good. I thought they were the best team. They're not here, though, Seattle is, and Seattle earned it in a big way. They are very, very well balanced. Few teams have come here. Few teams have come to a Super Bowl and been as efficient offense, defense, special teams as Seattle has been. Seattle isn't great. They're not a legendary defense. They're a good defense. They're a top 5 defense, but they're not a legendary defense. This is not Bears 85. This is not Ravens dominating the Giants. This is not that kind of defense. This is not Steelers. But this is a defense that can do everything, that will take away the big play and will get to the quarterback and will turn people over. They have versatility. They are very well coached. I think both teams here are exceedingly well coached in a league where coaching is not that great all the time. These are 2 guys who I believe will emerge now and are emerging. Vrabel's there. He's a name. He was a name as a player. Obviously, and McDonald has done a sensational job and is on the verge of becoming a big, big coach in this league with one more victory. And to me, both these coaches are very good at running their teams and do the things that head coaches have to do, which is something that you don't take for granted. Hey, we've seen in just last week, we saw 2 of the best, if not the 2 best, other than Andy. You know, Andy's on a different level. He's older now, but he's on a different level. But McVay and Peyton both had really bad for them. These are superb coaches, championship coaches, proven winners who I thought, and I think if you sat down and had a drink with them, would tell you that they really had bad games. Clearly, Sean did. And it's hard for Sean sometimes to admit a mistake, and I love Sean, but, you know, that's just his temperament. The bottom line is, though, should have kicked that field goal. I'm not saying that his quarterback wouldn't make the same dumb mistake and not take the sack and would have taken the sack because he would have had a 10-point lead. I'm not saying that. He probably would have made the same dumb mistake because that's what quarterbacks do. But how big reading that game, reading the way your defense was going to play, reading that the weather was going to get worse, and reading that you were playing with a backup who hadn't played in years, you had a chance to go up 10-0. If I had told you before the game started that you could go up 10-0 in the first quarter of that game, you would have jumped at it. You would have given me a kiss on the forehead. The bottom line is you passed on that. And not only that, threw a pass that had no chance of being completed. If he had run it with confidence and it got stuffed, I'd say, okay, you took a shot. I wouldn't have liked the call anyway. I wanted a field goal there. But the bottom line is I could live with that. I can't live with the play they ran. It was a mistake of the highest order, and you can make the case that it cost them a Super Bowl. Now, the way their quarterback performed, it would have been tough for him to beat Seattle in this game anyway. Probably better off from a standpoint of competitiveness that May is here. Because May has got a really bright future. And he's had a sensational year, although he's not played well in the playoffs from a standpoint of throwing the ball. From a standpoint of running the ball, he's done a very good job. You know, it's funny. Everyone wants to compare Brady and May. You know, when Brady won his first Super Bowl, he was still in his infancy. This was a guy who was a bad-bodied quarterback, who was a sixth-round draft pick, who had to put in an incredible amount of work and will and sweat and tears to become a great player. No one knew what was inside him, the burning drive, the intensity, the brilliance. But if you look at his first Super Bowl win, other than the last 39 seconds, he didn't do anything. If you look at Mays' year, Mays had an MVP type season in his second year. Brady wasn't that kind of player early in his career. He was riding the defensive wave of the Pats. In some ways, the Pats, and you throw in those two classic defeats at the hands of the Giants. They early on won their games, their Super Bowls with defense. Later on, they won their Super Bowls with offense. Same way the Steelers, who in winning 4 and 6 years won their first 2 with defense and the last 2 with Bradshaw to Swan and Stallworth. The defense wasn't the same anymore. The passing game had to show up. They needed to put big points up to beat the Rams and come from behind and make big, incredible catches downfield and big plays downfield. And that's why when people overlook Terry Bradshaw, they are just making a colossal mistake. Brady got to a point where he was Montana-like. He wasn't early. May is much better in year 2 than Brady was early in his career. That doesn't mean he's going to win. This team is not the quality of those Patriot teams. They got here this year. Vrabel's done a brilliant job. They had a fortunate schedule. They got some breaks in the postseason. The Chargers had no chance. The Texans, who knew Stroud was going to completely fall apart? And he completely fell apart. It wasn't just the defense doing a good job. It was the quarterback just completely melting down. And then they made some plays enough to get out of a game playing against a backup quarterback in a championship game. Another big break. Would they have beaten Knicks in Denver? I don't think so. But it doesn't matter. They didn't play Knicks in Denver. So they're here. Would I be stunned if the Pats won? No. Hey, I've seen more lopsided games going in than this one. Many more. I think Seattle's the better team. I think you play this game 10 times and Seattle wins 7. I think their defense could dominate this game. I don't like certain things I've seen from the Pats, and I am worried about the 15 sacks in the last 3 playoff games and the 6 turnovers. And 6 fumbles. He didn't lose them all. Seattle's good, and they played a tough schedule, and they won a lot of games, and they really, really had to play a terrific Ram team to get here. But that doesn't mean Sam Darnold couldn't make mistakes. We've seen him make mistakes before, but I think Sam has taken a big step forward mentally in these postseason games. I really think it began with that game where he turned things around against the Rams and came back and won that game. I thought that game was a big, big game in his career. And now he's one step away from never being questioned again. May is one step away from locking up a Super Bowl in his second year. It's a nice way to start your career. Just being here this early. And May has to cherish this and appreciate it because you know what? There's no automatic returns. I know you look at it right now and say, hey, Vrabel, The Pats have a way of winning. They're a good organization. May will be here many times. They said that about Marino. He came in with such a big reputation in his second year and so much productivity in his second year that they were favored against a team that is now regarded as one of the greatest teams in football history, the '84 Niners. Bill Walsh has said many times it was his best team. He said that many times. Led, of course, by a terrifically underrated defense and the great Montana, who is the best Super Bowl player of all time. There's no argument, okay? If you look at Montana's performance in the Super Bowl, not only did he never lose, and Terry Bradshaw never lost, but look at Montana's numbers in the Super Bowl. They're staggering. He was so much better. The only player that I can think of who played on the level of Montana was Bart Starr in those championship games where he was just so good year after year after year, including the 2 Super Bowls. So, what kind of game are we looking at? Are we looking at a high-scoring game? Probably not. Is it gonna be like 10-7? No. I think the winner will be in the mid-20s. I think I don't do over-unders. I'm not an over-under guy. I don't like over-unders. I think over-unders a lot of times are just luck of the draw, you know? Somebody returns a kick for a touchdown, well, it changes your whole calculation on that. You get a cheap, you can't calculate the strip for a touchdown or the cheap touchdown or the ball that bounces or it bounces here or bounces there. That's why a lot of times. Now, there are times where there's gonna be a shootout. This is not gonna be that kind of shootout. This is not gonna be Seattle Rams. New England's defense is good, and Vrabel will have a good game plan. And I think the teams will probably start the game very conservatively. But I think the winner will be in the mid-20s. The thing that jumps out at me is most of the time, when one defense is better, it wins the game. Do I think Seattle is going to pressure New England? I do. Those 15 postseason sacks worry me. And if Seattle gets going in that regard, I could see them having big trouble. Now, I'm not saying New England can't pressure. New England can pressure. They're good at pressuring. And, you look at certain guys. Milton Williams was unbelievable in the Super Bowl last year. And he has a chance to join Tuck as the only player. He had 2 sacks last year, a fumble recovery, really played brilliantly. Only player to ever have multiple sacks in multiple Super Bowls is Tuck. He had 2 against the Pats on 2 different occasions, and he played superbly in both games. One game, he was the best player. Williams could be a big key. He has been banged up at times this year. He signed the big contract. He could be a major, major factor. I guarantee you, Vrabel and the Pats have spent their time in preparation for this game saying, we can force Sam into big mistakes because that's been his history. Although it hasn't been his history this postseason, that has been his history. There have been plenty of times where Sam has made the big mistake, made the terrible throw, made the bad judgment. Now, this year, he's righted those situations, even in the Ram game, and the Rams drove him crazy the first 2 times they played, and even in the second game, which he came back and won, he got off to a rugged start. teams go in thinking they can force Sam into trouble. And maybe they can. And if they do, the game's going to turn for them. But I really think Sam took a big step forward in the Ram regular season game, and he showed that in the postseason where he's only had one bad play in all his pass plays in the first 2 games. He only had one bad play, and that's a whole different level for him. And I think it's very telling because he's not afraid to make plays. He will make plays, and I thought his game I mean, I thought his game in the championship game. Now, remember Stafford threw for 374 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's a great quarterback. Great quarterback. Nakua had 9 catches for 165 yards. He's a brilliant player. Sam had to match that, and he did. 25 of 36 for 346 and 3 touchdowns in the championship game. That is a great game. 7 different guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different guys caught the ball. Obviously, Smith and Jigba caught the ball 10 times on 12 targets. They will try to take him away. Nobody's going to take him away completely. I think he will have close to double-digit catches. He has done that all year. Look at the number of catches he's had. Very few games has he been shut down. Very few games. Kupp has been a bigger factor later in the year. His 4 plays, his 4 catches in that game against the Rams was big. I mean, the Rams thought Kupp was through. They were wrong. Bonner's gotten better and better. He was quiet in the championship game, but he's made some big plays as the tight end down the finish of the season. But you know that he's going to go to his big receiver often, early, and throughout the game. And he is a legitimately game-breaking great player. Will it take that kind of effort to win this game? I don't think it's going to take 346 yards and 3 touchdowns. I think this game will be a little different than that. But I think they're going to have to make plays, and whichever team is able to make the plays down the field is probably going to win the game. But the better defense often wins this game, and I can see Seattle, which I think played on a higher level than the Pats did this year, comes into this game in better shape and has the makings of a defense that can perform very well on this level. I believe that their defense, especially the play of their defensive line, will be a very big factor in this game. You have to give the Pats incredible credit for what they've done this year. Incredible. I mean, came out of nowhere, beat the Bills, won as many games as they did, and now is sitting here. And have they gotten a couple of breaks? Yes. So what? They took advantage of them. That's sports. Take advantage of the breaks when you get them. That's all you can do. They're here. They're well coached. I have great respect for Vrabel. I think Vrabel will do his job. I think he'll have them well prepared. I think that he will have them ready to go. And this will be a very, very physical football game. I don't think there's any question about that. I think the Pats like to play that way. And there's a lot to look at. A second-year quarterback on one side, a quarterback who has, been a high pick, been a big disappointment, bounced around, been told he couldn't do the job, and then thought he found a home in Minnesota, should have found a home in Minnesota, and wound up leaving there after putting the team on his back. People are getting fired in Minnesota because of that. And then he goes to Seattle, and what happens? Magic. And now he's in the Super Bowl. and he's one game away from going to a place where they can never, ever, ever take it away from him. They can't say anything. They can't do anything because he'll have gone to the mountaintop. I think Seattle wins the game. I think it'll be a fairly close game. Maybe they pull away a little bit late, win it by double digits, 10 points, 11 points, something like that. But I think Seattle minus the 4.5 wins the game. Hopefully we get a good game. I'm tired of hearing about the halftime show. I don't watch it anyway, and I never really get a good feel for the commercials during the game when I'm here. I really don't. I just somehow it's just you're always doing something, and never, you don't get to see the, you have to watch those some other time, and they're usually not as big a deal as everyone makes them out to be. In these later years when I've been home for Super Bowls rather than in the building, and I've always said this, okay, football is much better at home for this reason. You need instant replay. When I'm sitting in the seat for an NFL game, I'm always like, "Oh, I need to see that play again. Oh, man, I wish they'd replay that. I need to see that play." And you never do, and it is so much a part of your appreciation because you can't see everything the first time. And so to me, that's why being home is the best seat you can have. And instant replay makes all the difference. Hopefully we don't get some crazy controversy with the rules or with the officials because we've had a lot of that. We always seem to have a lot of that, but hopefully we get a good game. I don't really have any stake in the game myself, but I think Seattle's going to win it. And I'd say Seattle by like 10. Enjoy. Remember the Francesa 128. Enjoy your Super Sunday. I hope you get to a nice place and watch it and have a good festive day. It is an American holiday, obviously. And I always say this, if you're watching the ball drop on New Year's Eve or the Super Bowl by yourself, you got to take a big, long look in the mirror, figure out what's going on in your life because those are 2 days you're not supposed to be alone. Enjoy. We'll see you later.